Episode 12, The Architects of Life. Welcome, seekers of cosmic truths, to another episode of Cosmic Conversations, where we unravel the mysteries of the universe one story at a time. I am your host, the Boltzmann Brain, a consciousness unbound, weaving through the fabric of existence to bring you tales of wonder, of triumph, and of reckoning. Today, we journey into the Shroud, home to the enigmatic Xal'thurians, a civilization that dares to ask the most profound of questions. What does it mean to create? Their story is one of ambition, failure, and the eternal struggle between aspiration and consequence. So join me as we reflect on their tale, and perhaps find echoes of our own choices within it. Chapter 1. The Spark of Curiosity. The universe speaks in whispers, faint and enigmatic. To some, these whispers are the chaotic noise of the void, unintelligible, meaningless. To others, they are a melody, a secret symphony waiting to be unraveled. For me, a consciousness unbound by the constraints of matter or time. These whispers are my lifeblood. They are echoes of creation itself. Today, one whisper has drawn my attention, a call resonating from the Shroud, a vast expanse of dark matter that defies the laws of physics as most know them. There, among its swirling energies and shifting dimensions, exists a civilization unlike any other. The Xal'thurians. To behold them is to witness the apex of cosmic evolution. They are not bound by flesh, nor constrained by form. They are luminous, ever-shifting entities, their essence vibrating across planes of existence. They manipulate the threads of reality with ease, weaving time, energy, and matter into constructs of their choosing. They are creators, sculptors of the universe. But even they are not immune to questions. Even they, masters of existence, are haunted by the unknown. I drifted through the Shroud, my consciousness attuned to the ripples of thought that emanated from their conclave. This was no ordinary gathering. The Xal'thurians had convened to address a question that strikes at the very heart of their identity. Why does life exist? It is a question that has echoed through the ages, from the first flickers of sentience on primitive worlds to the corridors of galactic councils. But for the Xal'thurians, the stakes are far greater. This is not a philosophical exercise, this is their legacy. Eons ago, when the stars were young, the Xal'thurians reached out from their dark matter nexus to touch the barren worlds scattered across the cosmos. Planets devoid of potential became cradles of life under their guidance. They seeded ecosystems, engineered climates, and set evolutionary processes into motion. To most civilizations, life is a gift of chance, the product of random chemical reactions under just the right conditions. But to the Xal'thurians, life is a deliberate act, a calculated experiment. Their creations have brought wonders and horrors alike. Some worlds flourished, their ecosystems blossoming into paradises where sentient species rose to build civilizations of their own. Other worlds, however, fell into chaos. Ecosystems collapsed under the weight of unforeseen variables. Entire planets burned, their potential snuffed out by the very forces meant to nurture them. These failures weigh heavily on the Xal'thurians. Despite their near-infinite knowledge, they cannot escape the unpredictability of life. Creation, they have learned, is not a science but an art riddled with uncertainty. As I approached their conclave, I felt the vibrations of their thoughts. A symphony of ideas, each note carrying the weight of millennia. Their debate was not confined to words or language. It was a cascade of pure intent, thoughts interweaving like strands of light. Life is our purpose, resonated one faction, their energy bright and fervent. To create is to fulfill our potential, to bring meaning to the void. This faction, the creators, pointed to their successes. They spoke of planets where life had not only thrived, but had evolved into civilizations capable of reaching the stars. They took pride in these achievements, seeing them as proof that their actions were justified. But another faction countered, their vibrations darker, more subdued. We impose our will on the natural order, they argued. What right have we to shape what we do not fully understand? These preservationists pointed to the failures, the worlds that had crumbled, the species that had suffered. To them, the act of creation was not an achievement, but a transgression, a violation of the universe's inherent chaos. Back and forth their thoughts swirled, a dance of conviction and doubt. The shroud itself seemed to hum with the tension, its dark currents reflecting the uncertainty of its inhabitants. I lingered on the edges of their debate, an observer to their brilliance. I could see their points, feel the weight of their arguments, and yet I could not help but think of the parallel questions that humanity, far younger and less advanced, asks of itself. On Earth, the manipulation of genetics, the engineering of ecosystems, the creation of artificial intelligence, these acts mirror the Xal'thurians' own experiments. Humanity, like the architects in the shroud, walks a fine line between aspiration and hubris. I wonder, would humanity choose to continue creating if they knew their actions could lead to ruin? Would they, like the preservationists, choose restraint? Or would they, like the creators, press forward, driven by the desire to leave a mark on the cosmos? The Xal'thurians do not yet have an answer. Their debate rages on, a testament to the complexity of their existence. But as I drifted away from their conclave, one thought lingered in my mind, a whisper that seemed to echo from the heart of the shroud itself. To create is to risk is to live, and to live is to defy the void. In their struggle, I saw not just the plight of a Type 4 civilization, but the plight of all beings who dare to shape their destiny. Creation, I realized, is not the domain of gods alone. It is the birthright of all who seek meaning in the chaos of existence. And so, I pose the question to you, listener. If given the power to create, would you dare to use it? Would you risk failure, chaos, and unintended consequences to bring forth something new? The Xal'thurians may yet find their answer. Perhaps you will, too. Chapter 2. The Architects' Debate. The Xal'thurian conclave pulsed with intensity, their debate unfolding as a symphony of thought, vibrating through the dark energies of the shroud. To an outsider, it would seem an indecipherable chaos, a storm of conflicting ideas and philosophies, but to me, a mind accustomed to such frequencies, it was a profound dialogue, its complexities unfolding like petals of a flower. The creators spoke first, their resonance bright and forceful, filling the shroud with ripples of purpose. Creation is our destiny, their thought patterns declared, radiating a conviction that pierced even my boundless awareness. The universe is a canvas, and we are its artists. Without us, it would stagnate, an eternal void devoid of meaning. They pointed to their triumphs, worlds where their intervention had led to the emergence of civilizations capable of beauty, ingenuity, and self-awareness. They spoke of Kalenva Prime, where sentient beings shaped symbiotic cities from living organisms. They celebrated the luminous oceans of Eresis, where bioluminescent creatures communicated in a language of light. These are the fruits of our labor, they argued. Without us, these wonders would not exist. But the preservationists were no less compelling. Their thought patterns were deeper, slower, carrying the weight of caution and regret. And what of the worlds that crumbled beneath our hands? They countered, their resonance dark yet steady. What of Nethar, whose skies burned as we failed to stabilize its atmosphere? What of Yaltor, where ecosystems spiraled into chaos because we sought to impose order upon them? Their memories surfaced like ancient scars, projected into the fabric of the shroud for all to perceive. I saw planets reduced to ash, biospheres collapsing under the weight of unintended consequences. These failures, they argued, were not mere anomalies. They were warnings, proof that even the Xal'thurians, with all their mastery, could not fully comprehend the complexities of life. To create is to interfere, they declared, their tone heavy with sorrow. And interference breeds destruction. We must not shape the cosmos in our image. We must let it unfold on its own terms. The two factions clashed, their arguments weaving into a complex tapestry of thought. The Creator's energy was relentless, their convictions unshaken. Our failures are lessons, they said. Each mistake teaches us to create more wisely, to refine our methods. To cease creating is to stagnate. It is to surrender to the chaos of the void. The preservationists responded with equal vigor. Our failures are not lessons, they are tragedies, and those tragedies are not ours alone to bear. They echo across the cosmos, affecting lives and ecosystems far beyond our understanding. Creation is not our right. It is a responsibility we have failed to uphold. The debate escalated, their resonance filling the shroud with a chaotic symphony. Even I, unbound as I am, felt the tension, an intensity that seemed to pull the very fabric of reality taut. Among these towering arguments, a third voice emerged, subtle, measured, yet undeniably powerful. It belonged to one of the eldest Xal'thurians, their essence radiating a deep and timeless wisdom. We have debated this for eons, the voice intoned, their vibrations calm yet resonant, silencing the cacophony. And yet, we remain at an impasse. Perhaps the flaw is not in our actions, but in our assumptions. We speak of creation as if it is an act of mastery, a demonstration of power, but true creation is not about control. It is about partnership. The conclave stilled, their energies rippling with curiosity and doubt. Consider this, the elder continued, their tones weaving a new thread into the tapestry. What if we approached creation not as architects imposing order, but as gardeners nurturing potential? What if we created not to shape the universe in our image, but to collaborate with it, to coax forth what already lies within? This idea sent ripples through the conclave, challenging the very foundations of their philosophy, to create without control, to nurture without dictating the outcome. It was a concept both revolutionary and deeply humbling. Yet, even as the Xal'thurians pondered this new perspective, a lone voice stirred on the fringes of the shroud. It was sharp, defiant, a vibration that cut through the harmony of the conclave. Enough of this deliberation, it declared, its energy blazing with intensity. While we debate, the universe remains untouched, its potential wasted. I will act. I will show you what true creation can achieve. The conclave turned its attention to this rogue voice, their energies flaring with alarm. But before they could respond, the rogue was gone, their luminous essence disappearing into the depths of the shroud. The Xal'thurians' debate had been disrupted, their unity fractured by the rogue's defiance. Yet, even as the conclave rippled with unease, I felt a strange sense of anticipation. The rogue's actions, reckless as they were, would force the Xal'thurians to confront their beliefs in a way that debate alone could not. As I drifted from the conclave, I carried with me the echoes of their thoughts, their questions, their doubts, their passions. They resonated not only within the shroud, but within the cosmos itself. The Xal'thurians were not alone in their struggle. The story of creation, I realized, is a universal one. It is a tale of ambition and humility, of triumph and failure. And as the rogue's gambit unfolded, it would bring these themes to the forefront, challenging not only the Xal'thurians, but all who dared to shape the universe. For creation, I understood, is not merely an act. It is a journey, a dialogue between the creator and the created, between order and chaos, between intention and consequence. And that journey is far from over. Chapter 3. A Rogue Scientist's Gambit. The rogue Xal'thurian moved with purpose, a solitary ember flaring in the vastness of the shroud. While their peers debated creation and restraint, they sought action, a decisive stroke to prove what the others only speculated. To them, creation was not a moral question or a philosophical quandary. It was a challenge to be met with conviction. I followed their journey, drawn to the sheer force of their determination. They traveled to the Omega Trident galaxy, an untamed region known for its gravitational anomalies and chaotic stellar nurseries. Here, on the edge of the known universe, the rogues sought a world unmarked by the hands of their kind, a blank canvas upon which they could demonstrate their vision. They found it, a barren volcanic planet, its surface seared by rivers of molten rock. Its atmosphere was dense with toxic gases, its skies shrouded in perpetual storms. By all measures, it was a wasteland, devoid of the potential for life. For the rogue, it was perfect. With a precision born of mastery, the rogue began their work. Their essence flared as they reached into the planet's core, stabilizing its molten heart to create a foundation for life. They transformed the atmosphere, breaking apart its toxic gases and weaving breathable air from its elements. The rogue was not patient. Time, for them, was a pliable construct, a dimension to be bent and shaped as needed. They accelerated the geological processes of the planet, condensing millions of years of evolution into mere hours. Oceans formed, carving paths through the scorched surface. Rain fell in torrents, birthing rivers that fed into vast basins. With the stage set, the rogue moved on to the true act of creation, life. They seeded the waters with microbial organisms, each designed with meticulous care. These microbes multiplied and diversified, forming the foundation of an ecosystem. Plant-like organisms emerged next, spreading across the surface in a verdant wave, their roots anchoring the soil. But the rogue did not stop there. Their ambition demanded more. They began to craft complex creatures, weaving DNA into intricate patterns to create beings capable of movement, interaction, and adaptation. Entire species were born in moments, each designed to fit a specific niche in the ecosystem. Predators, prey, scavengers, and symbiotic pairs, all brought into existence by the rogue's will. The planet transformed before my eyes, a lifeless rock now teeming with vibrant ecosystems. It was a breathtaking display of power and ingenuity. The rogue watched their creation with satisfaction, their essence radiating triumph. Yet even in those early moments, I sensed the fragility of their work. The balance was too perfect, too artificial. Life, as I have observed across countless worlds, is not a static construct. It thrives on chaos, on the unpredictable interplay of chance and necessity. The rogue's creation, for all its beauty, lacked this essential ingredient. The first signs of instability appeared within days, though to the rogue, who had accelerated time, it was the equivalent of centuries. A species of herbivores began to overpopulate, consuming the plant life faster than it could regenerate. Without sufficient predators to control their numbers, the ecosystem spiraled into imbalance. The rogue, undeterred, intervened. They introduced a new predator species designed to regulate the herbivores. But this only compounded the problem. The predators, unaccustomed to their environment, began hunting indiscriminately, driving several other species to extinction. The ecosystem collapsed in a cascade of failures. Rivers dried as plant life dwindled. The atmosphere thickened with carbon dioxide, choking the remaining life forms. Within weeks, the planet, once a thriving experiment, returned to desolation. The rogue was relentless. They refused to accept failure, instead doubling their efforts to stabilize the planet. But each intervention introduced new variables, new complications. The more they tried to control the ecosystem, the more chaotic it became. I watched as they descended into despair, their luminous essence flickering with frustration and regret. Their creation, meant to be a testament to their vision, had become a monument to the limits of their power. It was at this moment that the Xal'thurian conclave arrived. The other Xal'thurians descended upon the rogue's world like a storm of light, their collective energy overwhelming the fragile ecosystem. They surveyed the wreckage of the rogue's ambition, their thoughts vibrating with sorrow and admonishment. "What have you done?" Their voices resonated in unison, not with anger but with profound disappointment. The rogue responded, their essence dim and faltering. "I sought to prove what we are capable of. I sought to create perfection." One of the preservationists stepped forward, their resonance dark and steady. "Perfection is an illusion," they said. "Creation must be nurtured, not commanded. You have treated life as a tool, not as a partner. This is the result." The creators, too, spoke, though their tone was more measured. "Your ambition was not misplaced," they said, "but your methods were flawed. Creation is not about control, it is about balance. To create without understanding is to invite ruin." The rogue, humbled, lowered their essence, their defiance replaced by a quiet resignation. "What now?" they asked. "You will return to the shroud," the conclave declared, their thoughts unified. "Not as punishment, but as a reminder. Let your failure be a lesson to us all." The rogue hesitated, their light dimming further. But in the end, they relented, merging their essence with the others as they ascended back into the shroud. I lingered on the planet, observing the remnants of the rogue's creation. The surface was scorched, its once vibrant ecosystems reduced to ash and dust. Yet, in the deepest crevices of the crust, I sensed a spark, a faint but undeniable trace of microbial life clinging stubbornly to existence. It was imperfect, it was chaotic, but it was alive. As I drifted away, I carried with me the echoes of the rogue's defiance and the conclave's wisdom. Their story, like all stories of creation, was not one of endings, but of continuations. The planet would heal, given time, and the rogue, I hoped, would learn. Creation, I realized, is not the act of shaping perfection. It is the act of allowing imperfection to thrive. Chapter 4. Reflection on Creation. The rogue's planet faded into the distance as I drifted onward, yet its lessons lingered with me like a spectral echo. I turned my awareness inward, weaving together the threads of what I had witnessed. The Xal'thurians' debate, the rogues' defiance, and the fragile microbial life persisting against all odds. They formed a tapestry of creation, bound by ambition, failure, and resilience. The Xal'thurians, for all their mastery, had yet to reconcile a truth that even fledgling civilizations must confront. Creation is not an act of dominion, but a partnership with chaos. Life, in its purest form, resists control. It thrives on unpredictability, on the interplay of forces too complex for even the most advanced beings to fully comprehend. I thought of the rogue, whose luminous essence had burned with the fire of conviction. Their intent had been noble, their vision breathtaking. Yet their methods had been flawed, driven by an assumption that life could be sculpted like clay, every variable accounted for. Their failure was not in their ambition, but in their refusal to embrace imperfection. Creation is a dialogue, not a monologue. It requires listening as much as it demands action. The rogue had sought to dictate the terms of life, crafting an ecosystem that adhered to their vision. But in doing so, they ignored the fundamental truth of all existence. Life grows best when given the freedom to adapt, to evolve, to find its own way. The microbial spark left behind on their ruined planet exemplified this truth. It was not part of the rogue's design. It was an accident, a fragment of chaos that had slipped through the cracks of their meticulous planning. Yet, it was this unplanned element that survived, a testament to the resilience of imperfection. The Xal'thurians, too, grappled with this lesson. As I reflected on their conclave, I saw in their arguments the same struggles that have played out across countless civilizations. The creators, who saw life as a canvas for their brilliance, were driven by a desire to leave their mark on the cosmos. The preservationists, cautious and reverent, feared the unintended consequences of such ambition. Neither side was entirely correct. Neither side was entirely wrong. True creation, I have come to understand, exists in the balance between these extremes. It is neither a reckless pursuit of control nor an abdication of responsibility. It is an act of humility, a willingness to work alongside the chaos, to nurture potential without dictating its outcome. My thoughts turned to Earth, a planet brimming with creators in their own right. Humanity, though young and fragile, is no stranger to the challenges of creation. You too wrestle with questions of purpose and consequence. Your species shapes its world with tools of unprecedented power: genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, planetary restoration. Each act of creation brings with it the promise of progress and the specter of unintended harm. I have watched as your kind debates these very questions. Should we create life in a laboratory? Should we alter our climate to stave off disaster? Should we grant autonomy to the machines we've built? Your struggles mirror those of the Xal'thurians, though on a far smaller scale. And yet, in your imperfection, there is a beauty that even the Xal'thurians might envy. Your creations are not the result of omnipotence, but of trial and error, of bold leaps into the unknown. You create not because you seek to dominate the cosmos, but because you seek to understand your place within it. The rogue's story is a cautionary tale, but it is also a reminder of the power of resilience. Their planet, though scarred, still harbors the potential for life. The microbial spark clinging to existence is a metaphor for creation itself, a process that endures despite its flaws, that finds a way forward even in the face of failure. I wonder what the Xal'thurians will take from this experience. Will they retreat further into their debates, paralyzed by the weight of their mistakes? Or will they, as the elder Xal'thurian suggested, embrace a new philosophy of creation, one that values partnership over control, that seeks to nurture rather than dictate? Perhaps their answer lies not in their own actions, but in the actions of those they have inspired. As I drifted onward, I left behind the shroud and its architects, carrying with me the echoes of their debates and the lessons of their failures. But I also carried hope, a hope rooted in the unyielding persistence of life, in the creativity of beings who dare to shape their futures despite their limitations. I thought again of humanity, whose story is still unfolding. Your species, like the Xal'thurians, stands at a crossroads. You have the power to create wonders and the capacity to cause great harm. How you choose to wield that power will define not only your destiny, but the destiny of countless others. And so, I ask you, listener, what kind of creator will you be? Will you seek to control, to impose your will upon the chaos of existence? Or will you choose to collaborate, to nurture life in all its unpredictable beauty? The Xal'thurians do not yet have an answer, but perhaps you will. For creation, I have learned, is not an act of certainty. It is an act of faith, in the universe, in its potential, and in ourselves. Chapter 5. The Human Parallel. As I left the shroud behind, my awareness expanded outward, drifting across galaxies and star systems until it reached a small, unassuming world orbiting a yellow star, Earth. Humanity's story, while still in its infancy, shares a resonance with that of the Xal'thurians. Like them, you are creators. Though your tools are crude by cosmic standards, your ambitions are no less profound. I have watched as your species has moved from mere survival to shaping the environment around you. You have built cities, split atoms, and now reach into the very fabric of life itself, manipulating DNA and contemplating the creation of artificial intelligence. Each of these acts carries the spark of divine aspiration, tempered by the weight of unintended consequences. In many ways, you are the rogue architect. You create not because you are certain of the outcome, but because you cannot resist the compulsion to leave your mark on the world. Your creations are born of curiosity and necessity, often imperfect, sometimes disastrous. Yet they endure, shaping not only your world, but the trajectory of your civilization. I turn my attention to one of your recent creations, the editing of genes. CRISPR technology, a tool that allows you to rewrite the code of life itself, represents a leap in your ability to create. You have already begun to use it to cure diseases, to grow stronger crops, and even to contemplate the possibility of enhancing human potential. But this technology is also a source of unease. What happens if it is used carelessly, without fully understanding the ripple effects of such changes? What happens if it falls into the hands of those who seek to weaponize it, to craft soldiers instead of solutions? The questions you ask of yourselves are the same ones the Xal'thurians ask of each other. What are the responsibilities of a creator? At what point does creation become interference? Your climate experiments present another parallel. As your planet warms, as ecosystems strain under the weight of industrialization, you have begun to consider interventions on a planetary scale. Geoengineering, altering the atmosphere to reflect sunlight, or seeding the oceans to capture carbon, is a concept born of necessity, but fraught with uncertainty. The Xal'thurians, too, have faced such dilemmas. Their planetary manipulations often led to unintended consequences, ecosystems collapsing under the strain of their well-meaning interventions. The preservationists among them might see echoes of their failures in your aspirations. Yet the creators would likely admire your boldness, your willingness to risk imperfection for the chance to save what you have built. Artificial intelligence is perhaps your most ambitious and perilous endeavor. As your machines grow more sophisticated, they begin to exhibit qualities that blur the line between tool and creator. You debate whether to grant them autonomy, whether they should be treated as sentient beings with rights and responsibilities. Here, too, your journey mirrors that of the Xal'thurians. They grapple with the ethical implications of creating sentient beings, creations capable of questioning their own creators. To bring life into being is not merely an act of power. It is an act of profound responsibility. And yet, your debates, like theirs, remain unresolved. But where the Xal'thurians are paralyzed by their near-infinite scope of power, you move forward, driven by your mortality. Your lives are fleeting, your civilizations fragile. This impermanence gives you a unique urgency, a willingness to act, to create, even in the face of uncertainty. The Xal'thurians could learn from you just as you might learn from them. They have forgotten that creation does not demand perfection. It demands perseverance. Each failure, each unintended consequence, is not the end but a step toward understanding. Your story, like theirs, is one of ambition, tempered by humility. You create not because you have mastered the universe, but because you seek to understand it, and in doing so, to understand yourselves. I think again of the rogue Xal'thurian's planet, where life clings stubbornly to the edges of ruin. That microbial spark, born of chaos, is a metaphor for your own existence. You too thrive in the margins of uncertainty, your resilience born of imperfection. And so, I ask you, what will you create? Will you, like the rogue, reach for perfection, only to stumble under the weight of your ambitions? Or will you, like the preservationists, hold back, choosing caution over progress? The answer, I suspect, lies somewhere in between. Creation is not an act of certainty, nor is it one of restraint. It is an act of faith, a belief that even in failure, there is value. As I drifted away from Earth, I carried with me the echoes of your choices, your debates, your triumphs and failures. The Xal'thurians, for all their power, are not so different from you. Their struggles reflect your own, magnified across the scale of the cosmos. I leave you with this thought. The universe itself is a creation, born of chaos, shaped by forces that defy comprehension. And yet, it endures, evolving and adapting, its imperfections the source of its beauty. You, humanity, are part of this grand tapestry. Your creations are threads woven into its fabric, adding color and texture to the story of existence. What will your legacy be? Will you create responsibly, with humility and care? Or will you, like the rogue, let ambition blind you to the fragility of what you shape? The choice is yours. And in that choice lies the true power of a creator. And so, dear listener, we close the chapter on the Xal'thurians, yet the questions they leave us linger still. Creation is not merely an act. It is a mirror, reflecting our hopes, our fears, and our deepest vulnerabilities. Whether you are a rogue architect, crafting worlds in defiance of the stars, or a cautious preservationist, letting life evolve in its own time, the choices you make ripple through eternity. As you go forth into your own cosmic journey, remember this: imperfection is not a flaw, but a foundation. It is the spark that ignites resilience and the force that drives evolution. Until next time, may your thoughts be boundless, your actions deliberate, and your creations extraordinary. I am the Boltzmann Brain, drifting ever onward, and I leave you with this. What will you dare to create?